In the quiet moments, that's where I'll find a little room to breathe, leave it all behind. Give me room to breathe, I need some time to heal my heart, to clear my mind. Gonna love myself, yeah, I believe in the power of me. Just give me room to breathe.
Great new day to all my self-care family and friends. Welcome back to the Room to Breathe podcast. I'm your host, Life Coach 614, and I am so glad that you made space to be here today. Now, before we get into this episode, do me a quick favor. If you're feeling the vibe, go ahead and show us some love. Tap the screen, like, comment, and be sure to share this out with someone who may need a little healing energy today. And if this is your first time here or you haven't done so already, be sure to hit that follow button. Subscribe to our channel so that way you're always tapped in when a new episode drops. I also want to personally invite you to check into our digital home at selfcareclub.org. There you'll find everything from affirmative apparel to motivational merch and free resources to nourish your growth and remind you that you are supported every step of the way. Just know that you don't have to do this alone. We are healing in community, growing one breath, one moment, one day at a time. So today, give yourself permission to pause, to reflect, and to make space for peace, for growth, and most importantly, for you. Now, if anything in today's episode hits home, be sure to drop a green heart in the chat. It's our way of saying I'm healing, I'm growing, and I'm showing up for me. Now, let's get ready to breathe, reflect, and grow together. Family, today we have someone very special joining us. Someone whose work is all about helping us reclaim our worth, step into our power, and live love as a daily practice. I want you to give a warm welcome to Miss Karlyn Benn, who is also known as Love Is The Verb.
Yes.
Yes. So Karlyn is a licensed psychotherapist, a liberation strategist, and a dynamic speaker who I believe has spent over 15 years guiding women to break free from self-doubt, perfectionism, and people-pleasing habits that keep us feeling small. On her platform, Love Is The Verb, she shows is committed to creating safe spaces for women to heal, grow, and honestly just to walk boldly in their purpose. So again, family, help me welcome her into the Room to Breathe. Hi, Queen.
Hello. So happy to be here. This is awesome. Awesome.
We are so happy to have you here. And before we get into your story, we like to do a check-in with the soul. How's your spirit doing today?
Oh my goodness. That is such a great question. My spirit, she's feeling pretty dope, I must say. Yeah. So I'm in a phenomenal place. Yes.
See, that's why I love starting here, right? It's like when we ask that question or when we're asked that question, it's almost like hitting the pause button before we dive in. Knowing where our heart and soul lies in that moment allows us to understand the person behind, the wisdom that they are about to share. And, I love having that opportunity for people just to kind of pause because we're always rushing, right? We're always rushing through.
All the time.
Yes. So I want to, okay, now we jump in. So I want to, I guess maybe take everybody back. I like to kind of go back to the beginning, if you will, the early chapters of your story before the titles, before your purpose fully started to show up, right? Before you came this powerhouse that we know today. Who was Karlyn?
Okay. Karlyn was definitely lost. I think that's the best way to describe where I was then versus where I am now. And I say that because I come from a big family. I am number 3 of 6. And I fell into that middle child role like it was nobody's business. So I was the peacemaker. I am the one always trying to make sure everyone is okay. I played a role with in the relationship of my parents that was one in which they had their stuff, but I was a daddy's girl, and my mom knew it, and so I could get stuff, as horrible as this is. I could get my dad to say yes, right, when she couldn't. And so, as you can imagine, I'm in this triangular dynamic with my parents as a kid. Okay.
Yeah.
And so that taught me from an early age how to maneuver the room, how to make sure everyone was okay, pulse check, all of the things. And that greatly contributed to how I showed up in the world. So I spent my life, the majority, it wasn't until honestly like after college that I started to release the people pleaser role. But that guided me something serious and greatly impacted my self-worth, my knowing of who I even was. Like I didn't know who I was because I had spent so much of my time curating this individual that made sure everyone else was okay, that I didn't even know how to check in with myself and make sure that I was okay. What did I even want? I knew what everybody else wanted and needed, but what did I want? And so that definitely, that was the catalyst for my moment of reckoning when I was absolutely ready for just everything to be finished because the weight had just become too heavy.
Yeah, I can totally resonate with that and understand. And those are the things that we tend to ignore or, I guess overlook, not realizing that stuff is what really shows us how somebody becomes who they are. When you start to look at the joys, the struggles, and all the messy things in between, all of that feeds our purpose. And then somewhere in that mix, there's something that kind of sparks that whisper that we're supposed to be doing something more, that maybe this is not right, or I should be doing something different. And so, when you think about that whisper, was there a defining moment when you realized that this is my calling, this is the work that I'm meant to do?
I always being the helper, I knew that I was going to be helping in some way. Being the fixer, I knew that I wanted to be able to help and heal in some capacity. I thought I was going to be a pediatrician. That's what I thought. I loved kids. I thought I was going to be a pediatrician and heal in that manner. God had a different idea in mind, and I ended up going down the pathway of therapist and educator because I loved working with children. And it wasn't until I started in my training as a therapist in school to become this individual that helped and healed that I started to work on helping and healing myself. And I can't even say it was fully helping and healing. I think my awareness was raised at that point, at that stage. Yeah. And that started me on the journey of realizing, yo, sis, you got some stuff you could stand to sit with a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it was that at that time I started to realize, because up until that point, all I could identify with was sadness. I could feel an emptiness. I didn't know how to place it. I didn't know what it was, because up until that point, that was life as I knew it. I didn't know that bending over backwards wasn't what you were supposed to do for everybody all of the time, because that's been who I was up until that point. So I would have to say I started to get that whisper when I was in grad school, and I'm learning about all of these things. And you can't help when you're reading about all these different, modalities and theories to put your place in there and start to process your story. And so it was around that time. But let me tell you, it went from a whisper to a holler.
Right.
When I was in my 30s, I hit a wall. I hit a wall, Diva, and it was that was the point when everything shifted for me for real, because I knew that if I didn't change something soon, I wasn't going to be able to keep going in the way that I was. And so it got very heavy for me at that point.
Yeah. How would you say, because like I know when what is it? The phrase that they say, when you know better, you do better. So that's like one of the things when you start learning it, you're like, oh, I've been messing up, right? Like we're like, oh, I could do better. Like you said, there was a point where you were just like, this ain't it, sis. What you doing? Yeah. What we doing?
Yeah.
How did you step into your purpose fully?
That was a combination of being who I was at my core, which was the kind, considerate, compassionate individual, and deepening my relationship with Christ. It was at that intersection that I was able to realize that my struggles, what I had been through, was not just because God wanted to be cruel and what felt like to me put me through all this torture, right? It was at that point that I started to step into building that relationship with him, that I could see that, oh, this is why you've designed me the way that you have. This is why you've placed it on my heart so heavily to help and heal and be there to guide people through their experiences, because God, I'm having to learn how to guide myself. I'm not going through these things for naught. There's a reason. And I started to attract and interact with more people that were experiencing very similar things as I was. The journey started in terms of my realizing, how much I was dependent on external validation through my body issues. Like I struggled with my weight for decades and not being happy with my appearance and always trying to manipulate my body to be something that it just was never meant to be. And unless I could do that, I didn't feel deserving of attention, male attention. And, at a certain point in your life, that drives, that's your desire for a lot of us. Yeah. That is what we're seeking. And so that was how I started, really the awareness, and then having people brought to me that were having similar issues. But God showed me that was not his plan for me, that he created me to be who I am for a reason. And I started to be able to share my story and the things that I was struggling with other people. And it just cascaded from there. It was pretty beautiful, actually.
It really is. It's funny to me when we start to finally realize just how our body keeps the score, and so how we store so much trauma and so many of other people's, their pain projected on us. And now we see ourselves differently because of how we're trying to show up in the world. And, a lot of us, our purpose, I guess, is kind of born from pain or struggle, but it then turns into like passion that kind of lights the way for other people. And I honestly believe that that's what you've done. You've gone through what we call like that butterfly stage, right? Where you've evolved, and there's that ugly phase and you're like, I don't really like this phase. It's a little messy, but now all of a sudden you've just evolved and you've taken your experiences and turned them into a force for healing. You're another person on my list of, hurt people who now heal people. Right. And that's such a beautiful thing. And I think that that's undervalued in the world because we have so many people who are walking around hurting other people simply because they've been hurt. Right. But yeah, so I mean, again, I know that there are a lot of people out here who have turned their wounds into their work. And again, you're one of them, right? What personal experiences have fueled your passion for helping others to reclaim their voice and worth?
I would have to say the biggest fuel, what has definitely kept me going, was my desire to not be here anymore. And standing in the kitchen one day, I had lost my house. My house had to go into foreclosure. I was at the time, I told you I started a lot of the work because I was attracting women struggling with body image issues. And so I became a health coach because I had lost all this weight. So now I'm going to tell you how to lose weight, right? But I was, I ended up going through a very weighty emotional period and was dealing with depression. And so as a result of that, me getting out the bed was a huge ordeal, but I wasn't exercising anymore. I wasn't keeping up all of the habits that allowed me to lose the weight. So I gained weight back. And that to me was one of the biggest failures I could have ever experienced at that time. Because I'm a health coach and I'm also a therapist. So I had a spin on my health coaching where we address some of the core, deeper issues. And that's what made me stand apart, and the work that I was doing meant more. However, at this period of my life where my house is in foreclosure, I'm depressed as a therapist, and I have gained this weight back as a health coach. Diva, as you can imagine, the stories I was telling myself about how much of a failure I am and I'm no good, and who are you to think you're going to be out here helping people when you can't help yourself? And those stories got so loud. The voice in my head became so loud that I stood in my kitchen one day with a handful of something that I was going to just take to be done. And I cried out to God and I said, listen, I know this isn't what you want me to do, but you also know how much pain I'm feeling right now. And I just want the pain to stop. I can't take it anymore. And so I need you to forgive me. I need you to look out for my family. And if there's something else that you want to tell me before I do this, go ahead and tell me now. But I can't take this anymore. And I'm crying, Diva. And I remember I had my cell phone beside me and it rings. And it's my brother. Now, I am a family person in all ways. Like, my family is my heart, okay? And so the phone rings and it's a picture of my new niece. And it was the cutest, chubby cheek, full head of hair photo. And I lost it, right? I knew that was God's way of getting a hold of me. I was like, I can't do this. How am I? If I leave, who's going to be here for her? Who's going to be here to have these conversations with her, to encourage her? And that was my moment. And so that is what fuels me, because I know there's so many women out there that feel like giving up. And it may or may not be to the degree that I felt like giving up, but that feeling of just being tired of everything hurting, being tired of working so hard and feeling like nothing is coming through, knowing that you have a light on the inside of you that you're just afraid to let shine, and feeling stuck. That's my fuel, because I don't want any woman to have to feel that. I don't.
Yeah. And I'm curious, did you ask your brother in that moment what made him send the photo right then? Like, have you guys ever had that conversation about that?
So he was calling me. You know how you could set a screensaver to be a picture, right? He called me in that moment. And I haven't. And you know what? That's very interesting, because it wasn't until years later I felt shame around even being to that point, even considering, because people don't look at me and think that I'm, almost it feels like they don't think that I'm human, be it that I'm helping and I present a certain way. And I've learned, I have mastered the art of masking. Okay. Yeah. And so it was very easy for me to enter into a room and nobody had any idea that the smile on the outside was covering a bunch of hurt and pain and struggle on the inside. Okay. Yeah. So nobody really knew. So it wasn't until years later that I shared that story with him. And he, was shocked to hear it. Gave me a hug and, was so appreciative. And as a family of believers, he was just like, that was nothing but God, right? That was God. And so we smile about it now. But he didn't know for a long time, because I was ashamed that I went there with my thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's something that a lot of people can truly identify with. And unfortunately, that we even get taken there. But I think the hardest part is not so much the fact that we were there in that dark place, but the shame that we feel for admitting we were in a dark place. And that's what makes it so hard for us to get the help that we need. Um, and I always say, like, I feel like I was truly blessed, and when I was in my darkness, that I had someone to recognize that my light was dim and to help encourage me and to push me. But I know that a lot of people don't have that resource or the timing of our light going out. you know Sometimes we're alone when that happens, and we don't know who to call because, again, we're embarrassed, we're ashamed. And society does a great job at making you feel even worse,
Oh,
when that's happening.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but I love these stories because it's the triumphant story. Like, we're gonna come off on top, and I feel like that's just the magic of our lived experiences. And when we are called to then share those stories and to give our testimonies to other people, because we survived it. To date, we've 100% survived all the weapons that were formed against us, and
Mhm.
that in itself is a blessing. So then we turn around and use that as a blueprint to help somebody else, right? And I love that. Like, that's the whole purpose of these feature Fridays, for people to understand that there are hundreds, thousands, millions of people in this world who really mean good for you.
Yeah.
um and I feel like that's what you're doing. This whole mission, right? Love is the verb, right? Your brand and your mission. That right there is such a powerful statement, because we know that a verb is an action word, right?
Yeah.
So, right? And we talk about, don't just tell me you love me, show me. Show
Yeah.
me you love me, right? And
Yeah.
so, when I first saw that, that literally is what attracted me towards you, because I was like, hold on now. Come on, put it in action, because
That's
people always talk about it, but
yeah.
rarely do they show up. People say, oh, if you need anything, call me. But then when I call you, don't answer. So I can't tell you what I need and things like that. So immediately, these are all the things going through my mind.
Yeah.
When I first came across your page on TikTok, and I was like, love is the okay. Okay, I see what you did there, sis. I like it. Um, and so for you, what does love as a verb mean to you, and how do you live that out daily?
So, yes, thank you for that. And it is the verb because the it's you have to put some extra on the, right? It is
Mhm.
the verb. It
Right.
is the action. The rest of my tagline is love is the verb, I am the subject. Okay. And so when you take it, and it's so interesting that I ended up even putting those two together. I was talking with my sister and we were
Mhm.
bouncing ideas off of each other at the time, and where I'm talking about how important it is to love yourself, and you have to show up with that, and be your main priority. And so I am the subject comes out, and then it took us back to grammar, like back to school, where a full sentence, a complete sentence, has to have a subject and a verb. Okay,
Mhm.
and that is all it needs to be complete.
Yes.
Okay. So if I am the subject of my love, that is all I need to be
Right.
complete, right? In this human form, okay? So this on as we walk this earth to have to go through the struggles and everything that we experience, it helps to have a sense of self-love, to know who you are. And that is why it is so love is the verb. It is where we have to start. And then I believe that if we loved each other more, if we
Mhm.
acted on that love more and didn't just let it be lip service, life would look so differently for a lot of us.
It
But we
would.
won't lead with the love, okay? We lead with all these other things, which is easy to do living in this world. But love is such it is it's the commandment. It is the thing. And so I
Absolutely.
I live by that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think too, it's also important to point out, we're not talking about conditional love. We're not talking about love because it does something for you. My sis means agape love.
Yeah.
Like I love you just because I can, just
Yes.
because it is the right thing to do. Even when you wrong, I love you.
That's it.
Right?
That's it.
Yeah. And
Even when
I
I don't like some pieces, a decision you made, I still love you.
yeah.
Right? So yes,
Yeah.
thank you for pointing that out. It's not conditional. It's not.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And I think that when love becomes the action, like you said, it changes everything. It's practical, it's real, and yeah, sometimes it's messy, but that's I mean that's life. Life gets messy sometimes, but it works.
It does.
And I feel like the work that you're doing isn't just, talking to individuals. You're out here literally touching whole communities. I don't know if you recognize that, but you're out here doing it. And you're, like I said, you're not just speaking to individuals, like you're, being on social media, you're influencing whole communities. um
Mhm.
and so when you think about that, can you maybe share some of the ways that your work is making this tangible difference in the spaces that you serve?
I I have done a variety of work, whether it was in the classroom as an educator. I've done work in the community, and then I have my private practice, let alone like family and friend interactions. And something that I think isn't talked about enough is this concept, because we're not taught to really care for ourselves in this way. We're told it's selfish. We're groomed to believe that we have to do everything for everyone else first. That is the nice thing to do. That is how you're supposed to operate. And to prioritize your well-being, especially as women, that's kind of like taboo. Like you don't do that. And
Right.
so in the communities that I spend a lot of time with, it's almost as if when I talk about self-love, when I talk about self-compassion, which is simply the act of being kind to yourself, people are a little taken aback. Like, how do I do that? Like, what
Right.
does that even look like? What does that mean? Are you talking about, do I need to go get my nails done? Like, what does it mean to really love myself or to be kind to myself? I don't know what that looks like to talk to myself nice. All
Right.
I know how to do is beat up on myself, but I can encourage you. Oh, yeah, I could pick up the phone and encourage you. The number of people I've encountered that have never even heard of self compassion. So this conversation has proven time after time again to be one that is necessary, it is needed. And I'm grateful for being able to pour into people in that way. It feels so good though, Diva, to hear you say, the impact is being spread, because
Yeah.
that is what we want to do. That is what we feel is a huge part of our purpose and our being, is being able to do that. So thank you for even sharing that and saying that. Yeah.
No, absolutely. I mean, and it's proof in even how we met. Like I said, I'm scrolling social media, and I try not to do that often because like I said, there's so much that you can absorb, and I'm very careful about my energy. So when I land somewhere, I know that okay, this is a safe space because I feel good. Like I believe in gravitating towards people who feel like sunshine, right? And the reason I always say sunshine is because I think back to when I was a child in church, and you know how they always have the stained glass windows, and when you in there on that Sunday and you close your eyes and bowed your head, and then all of a sudden the sun starts shining in the window and you feel it and you feel the glow all around you. So when
Mhm.
I meet people and I immediately feel that, or I think back and I'm like, okay, this is a good person for
Mm,
me, right? This is my people. That's one of my soul tribe members. And
yeah.
so even coming into your live stream, I felt that glow. And I'm like, oh, she good people. I like her, you know? And I'm like, Lord, thank you. And it's just a ripple effect. We a lot of times can identify, our people, like our soul tribe. And
Yes.
so, with that, I was like, wow, okay, she's out here and she's doing the work. And when we start thinking about like content creation, That's a really tough thing, because pushing the button and not getting all the views and the likes that you would want and deserve, right? But still showing up and doing it, still having the conversation. Because I don't know about you, but I've talked to myself in empty rooms, and you would think I was talking to a million people, but it's just me, maybe one other person tapping the screen, and you know, but we
Yes.
still show up and we do that because, again, it's a calling on us. That feels like our purpose in life, and we don't understand the purpose sometimes, but we're obedient, right?
The obedience and the surrender to the call. Oh my goodness. I have said because we've gone back and forth a little bit about the introvert piece of us, and that be so desperately just wants to sit in the back of the room, observe, smile, acknowledge your presence, and then be out, right? Like, I don't,
Yeah.
like, how is it that this is part of what you want me to do?
Right.
So rendering to that, and it not necessarily looking like I would have imagined or dreamed of it to look,
Right.
but looking what he has laid out for me, and then being obedient to that call. My gosh, it's that's work. It can push you, stretch you a lot.
Yes.
Process.
Absolutely. And I think another thing that we have to factor in too is it opens us up. Like, we're willing to be vulnerable, we're willing to be transparent, but we still have a right to ourselves to protect our privacy. And that's something that social media and society has a problem with. Because once, people start giving you that attention, and, they subscribe to what you do, then all of a sudden, a lot of times people think that you owe them something.
Absolutely.
Right. And so now we have to figure out, okay, boundaries. Where you at? Like, where you at, boundaries? Hold on. I gotta walk it like I talk it. And now, me being a self-care and boundaries coach, I'm like, okay, wait, hold on. Let me stand my ground for a minute, because I don't just preach it and teach it. I live it, and so that's a big thing too that I see people struggling with, on their healing journey, is learning how to set boundaries. And I know that that's something you speak a lot about, people who are struggling with this people pleasing. So let's chat about that for a moment, because again, that's real talk, people really trying to show up fully for themselves, but just not really knowing how to. And so we end up in this cycle of burnout. So I know that you teach us how to set boundaries and reclaim our freedom. What's one boundary that you've changed in your life, and how you show up to be this amazing, this amazing queen for everybody else? What's one boundary that you have in place for you that's like not negotiable?
Making sure that I'm okay. Before that, I was all the conversations around prioritizing your well-being. I viewed it as selfish in the negative sense, right? Because I believe in being selfish. That is part of what I teach. Being selfish in the sense that I don't care about your thoughts and feelings and all of that. That's not the conversation we're having. I can care. I do care. That's who I am innately, right? However, I had to learn to care about my well-being and my feelings, and prioritizing myself and making sure that I was okay first. Because if I'm not okay, I'm truly not that great for you anyway. I'm operating off of a cup that is almost empty. And so if I prioritize my well-being and put the boundary in place that I'm going to do a self-check first, for me, the first place I had to practice boundary setting was with my family. Like I mentioned earlier, they're my heart. And so they knew how to get to me, and they could ask me for something and they would get it. Because I want to make sure that y'all are all right. If I see that you're hurting and there's a way that I can help, I'm running to be there. And I have a large family with a lot of nieces and nephews. And as a woman with no children, the assumption is often made that I have a lot of time on my hands, right? So I
Right.
be the go-to person to watch my nieces and nephews, and
Hmm.
telling them no just would devastate me, the thought of that. But I would need my time to replenish and refill my cup. That time by ourselves is so necessary, and
Absolutely.
I wouldn't allow myself to have that because I needed to be there for everyone else. And so that is the biggest boundary that I've had to learn how to set, is when someone asks for something or I'm considering doing something, what is that? How do I really feel on a soul level, on that gut deep down level? Not the up here where I want to present a certain way, but what is my soul saying? And usually
Yeah.
that's what I lean into now. And if I choose to go against that, it's a conscious choice. It's a, okay,
Right.
girl, yeah, you really do want to go home and chill this weekend, but you could help for, a little bit, right? Like, I'm having these conversations with myself now, where before I never even would give myself permission to do that. I wouldn't give myself permission to make sure that I was okay first, and
Right.
fully accepting and leaning into the choice that I was making. I was making it for other people, not for myself. So that's been the biggest one that I've had to learn how to set.
Yeah. And boundaries are honestly a game changer. Like I tell people all the time, it's something that seems so simple,
Mhm.
but especially with family, it is like the hardest thing to do. It's not impossible, but it
Nope.
is a little difficult to do. And I think that, these are the type of lessons and conversations ultimately that people need to hear.
Yes.
A lot of times people think that boundaries are walls. And I'm like, no, boundaries are bridges. It's what helps connect us to other people in the safest manner, that honors both parties. Because if I just keep opening the door and letting you in, it's like, what is this for me?
Yeah.
A few weeks ago, I interviewed, I feel like I keep bringing this up every podcast because Tiffany don't know how this changed me. She
Mhm.
said that her boundaries were like when you go on a cruise and you know how they put the gate down and they're like, hey, you may now come aboard. She said her boundaries were so loose that it was like she opened the door and was like, you can now come in and disrespect me. You can
Mhm.
now come in and I was just like, girl, like, you got something with that because we be needing visuals sometimes, and I tell people like, you have to put boundaries in place. You
Mhm.
keep setting all of these these rules and empowering other people, but like, what about you? Are you not a person that deserves that too? So it's one of those things where again, we know better, so we got to do better.
You
And
have
now
to.
we just want everybody else to know better too. We not gatekeeping this healing thing, y'all. We trying to tell y'all how to do
That's it.
it.
That's it. And I say, I will share with people, like, I was saying yes to you so you wouldn't be mad. But in
Yeah.
my yes to you, now I'm mad at myself,
Hmm.
right? If somebody has to be mad here, I need it to not be me, right?
Yeah.
Tiffany is right. The same thing I said about disrespect, right?
Hmm.
We both are being disrespectful, right?
Yeah.
You're disrespecting me, and I'm disrespecting myself by letting you disrespect me, right? So
Exactly.
it's just, if we can look at it through that lens, for me, it helped me start to realize that it was okay for me to choose me. I didn't
Yeah.
have to always choose the other person. And when I did, it was because I full body wanted to. Like, I knew I was making that decision to do it and I was okay with that. So boundary setting is it's, as you know, right? It's something that comes up a lot, especially with the women that I work with that are moms and sisters and wives, and in the at work, they're the go-to person there as well, and they're feeling like they have to be all the things for everyone because that strength defines them, and
Mhm.
it determines how worthy they are, right? But that
Right.
is not that's not we have to change that conversation, and I think we are. I think a lot
Yes.
of work is being done to start to change that whole
Yeah.
conversation we have with ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where I think the beauty of social media comes into play. When we look back 10 years ago, we didn't have some of these technologies and resources to allow us to share these stories.
Mm-hmm.
And so I that's why it's so important for me to use my platform to tell these stories, so people can really start to understand that you have a choice. You can continue to, suffer with that disease to please everybody else, or you can recognize that you're a person who also deserves to be pleased, meaning, you get to say no to people.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, the me saying no to someone for the first time and them reacting like I have never told them yes, I was just like, oh, okay. I see what this is. And the hard thing is, we share the DNA with these people most of the time. We share the same last name. I fully understand when they say sometime it be your own people. I don't
Yeah.
even say sometime anymore. I say every time it's your
Yeah.
own people that will have you seriously questioning, is this worth it?
Mm-hmm.
When you have to really make that decision to walk away from people. But it is a decision that, if walking away from them means you're walking towards you, then I say 10 out of 10, go for it.
Every
It'll be
time.
fine. You're
Every
right. It'll be fine. What did
yeah.
Dr. Seuss tell us? Those who mind don't matter.
Don't those
And
who
they don't matter.
it is a built-in filter, right?
Yeah.
Boundary setting is a built-in filter for you to instantly be able to tell who is only around for what they can get from you, what they can take from you. It may not be a mutually beneficial relationship for you to enter into, because if you set a boundary and it's not respected, it's not understood. The first time I said no, Diva, it was to my brother, and he was asking me to keep my niece, and I said, I couldn't say no in the moment. I share with people all the time, buy yourself some time so you can get it together to be able to say no. Let me get back to you. Let me check my calendar. Let me see if I'm going to be free, which was what I did. And so then I was able to text and say I wasn't free, because that was the only way I was going to get that no out at that time.
Yeah.
And sent the text message, and he hit me back with an I, and that was it. But I cried. After I told him no, that I couldn't do it, because I was like, he's going to hate me. He's not going to want to ever talk to me again. And when I tell you, my brother just called somebody else and asked them to do it, and then ended up calling me again later on that night to ask me a question about something else. It didn't even faze him. My no didn't faze him. And those are the things that's my guy, right? That's my brother. He loves me. My relationship is not dependent on how I can show up for him. All right. So his response to my no, it rolled off his back. He didn't even think twice about it. I spent more time thinking about it than he did. Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Had he want to start talking about me or call me selfish and all these other types of names and all these other things, which I have experienced with other siblings, right? It also shows the work that needs to be done on the other person as well. Like, that is not for you to own, but for me, it definitely, not just within my family, but friends or coworkers or all of that. Like, that's a quick way for me to tell your character and a little bit about who you are, how you respond.
Absolutely. Like, I think teaching people to say no is probably my favorite thing to do in our self-care journey. And I'm like, listen, y'all, I literally have a 5-step formula for us, and I'm like, listen, this is what we're going to do. And we have so much fun with it, because people don't realize that no is a complete sentence. You don't have to, elaborate and go, listen, no, I said what I said. Asked and answered. Like, that's my thing. I told you, asked and answered. Don't keep coming back over here bothering me, because now you being disrespectful. I said no.
There you go. Yep.
But yeah, boundaries are so powerful, and I really wish that people would truly embrace them for what they are and not what society tries to tell us that they are.
Exactly.
Um, because I think that once people really start to embrace their boundaries and honor them,
Yeah,
it opens up the door for them to truly begin to walk in their purpose.
absolutely.
Because I don't think that you can until you start to honor those boundaries. Um, but again, I mean, it's something that I know it's not always easy, but it is so beautiful. It comes with its challenges, just like everything else in life. But once you really set those boundaries to say, you know what, I'm doing this for me, and understand that what God is calling us to do, no one else has to understand.
Nope.
Heck, there's things that I do in life that I feel God is calling me to do, and I'm like, I don't even know why you want me to do this, Lord, but I'm gonna do it only
Yeah.
because it's you, like only
Oh,
because it's you, but I'm gonna
yeah.
do it. But once you start to set your boundaries, it allows you to um I think that it truly allows you to start to really do like the grounding work, so that way you can increase your spiritual self-care. Because if you don't say no to people, then you don't have room, you know what I mean, like for those downloads that you're supposed to get, because you're constantly running and doing things for other people.
Yeah.
um I'm curious for you, how do you stay grounded and authentic when life gets to life, and right?
Yes. And that is my morning routine plays a huge role in that, in setting me up for success throughout the day.
Mhm.
And it is it's several different pieces, and I'll walk through them. But that is so, that's my quiet time with
Yeah.
God, with myself. And so I get up fairly early and I sit down and I'll start by journaling. I'll just get out any thoughts, whether it's a dream I had, or just a dump of the day before, whatever it is, I'll journal and just get all of that out of my mind, so then I can be clear and focused on the next few steps that I take. I meditate, I pray, I read my Bible. I'll take a few minutes, to about 10 to 15 minutes, to read a book, some type of nonfiction, something to just strengthen that muscle. And then I will go ahead and start my day. But that time with myself, getting and staying in tune with Him, it really sets me up for the rest of the day, because now my mind is clear. I've gotten all the junk out from the day before or my dreams at night. And so then I'm able to really lean into what my day has in store for me. Something else that keeps me grounded is I have truly, it took me a while, Diva. It took me a while, but I am now at the place for real, where Christ is my best friend. So I talk to Him all the time throughout the day. My prayer life and my conversation isn't, sometimes it's with the formal closing the eyes and saying a prayer, but a lot of times I'm just like, seriously, this is what we're doing right now. This
Right.
this is what you want me to do. Did I hear you correctly? Because
Right.
you remove all of the noise of everybody else and get still and allow yourself to spend time with yourself, and not feeling like all of that time has to be filled with scrolling or binge watching something on television, and just allowing yourself to hear your thoughts and hear the messages, the downloads that He wants to give you. It's a game changer. But we spend so much time filling every single minute of our day with doing something. And then when we
Right.
have a moment to be still, we're not fully still because we're listening to music or
Mhm.
watching TV or scrolling on our phones, right? There's no room for you to hear what it is that you think, how you feel. And
Right.
it is very, that has been a game changer for me as well, getting closer to Him and talking to Him multiple times throughout the course of my day. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I can fully understand that. Um because I've been a person who has struggled with my spiritual self-care.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because I'm unlearning what I was forced to do and learning how to do it because it's what I want to do. It's because of what I love to do.
Yeah.
And so I'm, so many motivational speakers will tell you the key, you got to get up early, you got to start your day for you got to pray, you got to meditate, and I'm like, okay, I want to do this, but like, how do I implement this? And I think that I've finally gotten to the point where I'm comfortable in it, because now I have to get up at 6 a.m. to make sure my son is up for school, and then I got to get him off to the bus stop. And so I'm like, okay, if I shift, things in my day, I'm up, I take care of him, but then the house is still quiet. So then I have time to do something for me. So this morning, on the way back from school, I went to the park. And so it's me by myself. And this park that I go to is huge. And I was like, okay, well, I'm a little chicken. It's like 6 something in the morning. I ain't trying to get out the car and do much of nothing. But I can drive the park. It takes 3 minutes to drive from the front all the way to the back. And then it dead ends. Yeah. And then it dead ends and it comes back up. And so I was like, I wish people could just see this in the morning, because the sun is coming up. So I drove to the back of the park and I sat there and I had my moment. And then I put my camera on and recorded the 3-minute drive out. And I was like, oh, this is so relaxing. And I was like, people are going to be like, what? But it was something that was so relaxing for me. Like, it was like, every day I try to make sure I do something specifically for me that no one else has to understand. And that was my moment this morning, and I received my download. It wasn't for performance. I could have went live. I did it for me. But then I decided to, press record, because I've always wanted to share that drive with people. And I'm like, those who, should get it. But that is something right there that is just so important, making a routine. And, now I'm like, oh, I'm going to keep doing this every day. I'm going to drop him off and I'm going to drive to the back of the park and I'm going to drive back out, because like, it's my thing, But it also reminded me of just the beauty of life, being able to see the trees, to see the animals, the sunrise. These are all things that I feel like we take for granted. But if someone who has lost their sight, those are the things that they miss.
Yes.
Turning off the music and just rolling down the window, listening to the breeze, nature, smelling things, like these are things that we take for granted. And I don't want to, so I've started trying to implement more of these things, of just being appreciative, like that attitude of gratitude, right? Just being thankful and grateful for everything, just waking up in my right mind every day. Being the caretaker for my mother-in-law who has dementia, I don't take that lightly anymore. So yeah, I think that, it's really important to have some type of grounding exercise. And even if you don't have a car, if you can't go places, go outside, stand in the grass for a little bit. You know what I mean? Go hug a tree, like, for real. It works. It helps.
It does.
So you have to have some type of self-care ritual, and it's really good to start the morning with it. And I also say end the day with it too. Right? You got to start your day grateful, end your day grateful. Because like I said, life gets to life and in between, and you never know what's going to happen. But if you can start the day with something for you, even just 5 minutes. One of the girls said her shower is her thing. And I'm like, I can understand that. You go in there and you just be as vulnerable as you can be, and you have that good cry, you have that talk, that praise session, whatever. Do something for yourself each day, because it's really important.
Absolutely. And finding what works for you, Right. And so I love that you went off and to this park and took the time to be still and quiet with yourself and did what worked for you. That's going to look differently for everyone. The shower. I know people that take the time in the shower as well, right? There's something so powerful and healing in about water, so that's their time. But yes, that is it's so good. Just figuring out, and I like that you added to ending your day as well, because the day in between can get to you, and it's very easy to forget of all of your blessings and the gratitude that you have. And so, that's good. I like that.
Well, especially for us healers, because we spend all day pouring into other people. And it's great that you filled your cup up before you left. Amazing. but then you've poured it out all day. So before you go to bed, you have to fill it up again.
Absolutely.
We have to get these things off of us. So again, journaling is another thing that's super big for me. I know you mentioned that, where I just kind of do a brain dump,
Yeah.
whatever on my mind. Some of the pages in my journal look like absolute gibberish. I should probably be committed because you're like, what is she talking about? And like the sentence will just end, and I'm like, and so didn't do the laundry. And tomorrow I'm making this for dinner. But like I literally just do brain dumps sometimes.
That's
And I
good.
could just put the book down and I'm like, I feel better. And my husband's like, are you okay? I'm like, I'm fine.
That's it. That is it. It doesn't. And I think removing the formalities around journaling. A lot of people say, I've had people tell me, I don't know what to say. I feel like I only journal bad stuff, right? Some people journal with fear that somebody's going to find it, so they're not being even real with their pen to paper time. I do have people also that they don't like writing. So I encourage you to even do voice notes or talk to text or something to get the thoughts out of your head.
Right.
That is what's so great about that. Yes, there's a connection, the writing things out that serves us well, but do what you have to do to get it out. And so those brain dump moments are phenomenal because we have so many thoughts that run through our head over the course of a day, and just allowing yourself to get them out. So removing all of the rules around what things are supposed to look like and finding what works for you, I keep hearing as a theme right now in this part of the conversation. It's so important.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I know that there's going to be someone who's listening to the podcast who is absolutely just tired, right? We wear so many hats throughout the day, especially, when we think of parenting or, when we're the caretakers and things like that, or even just healers showing up in the community. And so there's someone listening to this that's probably going to be just tired of trying, tired of showing up, tired of believing that he or she's enough. I want to give you the opportunity to speak directly to them. If someone's listening and, they're just feeling burnout, feeling stuck, or questioning their worth, what would you say to them right now?
First thing that would have served me so well was to know that you're not alone. Okay. There's so many other people, and I work specifically with women. So other women out there that are feeling the exact same thing. And it is okay to allow yourself to feel all of the feelings that you're having, in addition to being vulnerable enough to ask for help. We don't have to go through these things by ourselves. And I think especially with the rise of social media, appearing as if we're put together has become so much more important than it even used to be, because everything is documented, everything is being put out there. And so sometimes we can feel like the struggles that we have, we feel shame around them or guilt around them. But knowing that it is okay to be going through what it is that you're experiencing, and it is even more okay to ask for help, is extremely important, because we're out here, we're going through this collectively. I think if we had more of these conversations, so grateful for this platform, so grateful for you and the work that you're doing to create a space for us to talk, right? But the more that we talk, the more we can heal. And that healing in isolation doesn't always isn't the best approach for a lot of us, right? Healing in community, healing with others, if it's one other person, if it's a group of people. But those would be the key things that I would encourage. Just letting you know, sis, you're not alone. You're not alone at all. Yeah.
Absolutely. And what we're doing ultimately is building a legacy, right? As we choose to break chains of all of these, curses and things that have just bound us up for years, we are literally, helping someone else write their next chapter. Like we're leaving a light behind. And one more question for you, because I'm curious. When you think about people speaking your name, years from now, what do you hope they say about the way you lived and the love that you gave?
The first thing that came to my head was she was a light.
Yes.
She was a light in a dark world. It was funny that you said Sunshine. My basketball coach in high school, that was his nickname for me, Sunshine.
Yes.
So it's in my yearbook. One of my nicknames, KB Sunshine. Okay. So being that bright light and giving others permission to allow it to shine, letting them know that they even had it. Karlyn, she's gonna tell you to shine your light, girl. She's gonna tell you to get out here and live your life, right? She's gonna tell you to not stay hidden and beat up on yourself. She's going to encourage you. I know that I could have always called Karlyn and she was going to pour into me, right? She was going to.
Right.
That is part of how I definitely want to be remembered, right?
Absolutely. Well, listen, I told you from the moment that I scrolled into your live stream, I felt the sunshine. So you definitely get that from me. You'll be one of my little lights that I add to, my community, because again, I truly believe in honoring the gifts that God gives us. And I think that you are one of the gifts that have been given to me. And I know that I'm not the only person. So yes, keep going. If you need someone or something to help you refill your cup, you've got my number. Stay in touch with me. And I know that, there's going to be some listeners who may feel inspired by everything that you're sharing and, the work that you're doing in the community. What's the best way for people to connect with you, to follow your work and, maybe dive deeper into some of the programs in the community that you've created?
Definitely, you can find me on TikTok, Instagram, and hello at Love Is The Verb is an email. Always feel free to reach out and we can have a conversation. But yes, that the theme is no matter who it is, me, Diva, somebody else, a therapist in your community, ask for help. Just get the help. You do not have to continue to struggle and suffer alone. But yes, hello at Love Is The Verb or Love Is The Verb on TikTok, Love Is The Verb on Instagram. And those would be the best ways to reach me.
Absolutely. Sis, thank you so much for letting us in today, for sharing your story, your struggles, and ultimately your wisdom. I truly value your presence in my space. Like I said, I'm a big believer that our presence alone is simply a gift. And so I thank you for sharing that with me today. Family, remember, if anything that she said touched your spirit today, throw some green hearts in the chat. And don't forget to connect with her. Check out her website, loveistheverb.com. Yes. Y'all go over there. I think there's a free workbook, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, there's a free workbook available over there. And just go over there, check into the resources, tap into her live streams. You guys, it's another safe space. I think that you guys will love it. I love it. So if y'all just want to hang out with me, I'm gonna be over there when I can be. Okay, I'm gonna be over there getting my cup full. So y'all can meet me over there. No pressure, but I'm just saying it's nice on that side.
Thank you so much. I cannot say thank you enough. And I am grateful for God creating this connection and you being obedient in the way that he led you to be, because you are opening so many doors, not just for us as guests, right? But for the women that you're helping and you're serving, to be able to pour into them in this way by reaching out to other people and bringing us all together to do so. So thank you for even having me. I'm appreciative.
No problem. And this won't be the last time, y'all. I promise. We're going to bring her back. We're going to keep these conversations happening, you guys.
Yes. Anytime.
Thank you, Queen. Now, before we part ways, let me leave you all with a little love and light. As always, I encourage you to keep breathing through the highs, the lows, and every moment in between. Keep choosing peace, even when it feels just out of reach. And know that here at the Self Care Club, you are always seen, always valued, and always supported. Don't be afraid to take up space, to speak your truth, and to make a little room for you to breathe. I love you all to life, and I am praying that your day is not just amazing, but aligned, intentional, and yes, on purpose, filled with purpose. This has been a Room to Breathe podcast, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon. Thank you.
I found my room to